Joining me now is the esteemed epidemiologist, Nick Hulscher, also the administrator of the McCullough Foundation. Hello, Nick.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being with us. Dandelions. Oh, we had a lot of fun as kids with dandelions when they would turn to that, they would die and leave the little white puffy seeds up there and you blow them off and the wind catches them. But it turns out they're more than just annoying to have in your yard as a weed or a toy for kids to play with. Turns out they could actually maybe cure cancer. That's what you put out on your X account today, at least. Really?
Yeah, so this is a very, very important study. One thing we have to remember is there's a recent paper came out, a comprehensive review found there's over 1,100 peer-reviewed papers now that show natural compounds have potent anti-cancer effects. So this specific study found that the common backyard plant, dandelions, an extract of dandelions, can actually, and they proved it in the test tube, it kills 95% of cancer cells. And they implanted mice with human colon cancer tumors. And in the mice that were receiving the dandelion extract, it reduced the colon tumor growth by over 90%. So the tumors weren't even growing when they were taking the dandelion. And you'll see it in the image there. It's so obvious. The ones without the dandelion, they got these massive tumors. They just kept growing. They wouldn't stop. And then they gave them this common backyard plant, and it selectively targeted the tumor cells. And it was accompanied by zero toxicity, absolutely none. And there were human trials planned for this, and unfortunately they never happened, probably because the chemo cartel cannot make a lot of money from a common backyard pest plant.
Well, I noticed that some of these chemo cartels, as you refer to them, some of them have some awfully big facilities and buildings. Have you noticed how big their buildings are? They just keep adding on. I mean, I don't know if that's the cartels you're referring to, but some of them seem to bring in a lot of money. But are you telling me? I mean, what do you? I don't know. I have believed it's my opinion. That's all it is. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a scientist, but it's my opinion that there are a lot of things out there that are not being used or tried that I'm not saying could cure all cancers, but ivermectin, glutathione, phytoplankton. We have this phytoplankton that we promote, and the guy was taking it and they'd given him a terminal diagnosis. He started eating the phytoplankton he was raising for his crayfish, and he ended up having 11 biopsies done on his lungs. They all came back benign. He lived another 10 years. I think there are so many natural things that will boost your immune system and go after those free radicals that, like you said, doesn't make money.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. None of these make money. And again, what I mentioned earlier, there's the 1,100 studies that outline 12 natural compounds that all show potent anti-tumor effects. And one more thing that's important, a recent study came out looking at high-dose vitamin C for cancer. And this shows so much promise. Not only has there already been human trials underway in which patients who received high-dose vitamin C did have drastically improved outcomes. They lived longer and they had less symptoms from the chemo. But mechanistically, the vitamin C literally wipes out the cancer cells via like 4 distinct, very strong mechanisms. And we know it's very safe as well. So a high-dose vitamin C, ivermectin, fenbendazole, now we have dandelion root extract. All of these show extreme promise for natural cancer treatments.
I think I remember hearing somewhere where it was becoming very difficult for people to get vitamin C IVs. I don't remember what state it was or where it was, but people that were wanting to try this to fight their cancer were having a hard time getting vitamin C IVs. Had you heard this?
Yeah. Many doctors, conventional cancer doctors, they're not going to give people any of this stuff. They're just going to go the conventional method and load them up with chemo and radiation until their bodies are deteriorated and they die a slow and painful death. In some cases, there will be remissions but their bodies have been destroyed in the process. So, I've heard of it.
All right, let's go to this next one. The Daily Mail had an article out today. Let me see if I can find it real quick. Now, I don't know if this is just trying to get people to click on the article or what, but let me see if I can even find it anymore. But it was up there today, and it was some kind of flu. I don't know. Maybe it's already gone. Nope, here it is. Deadly super flu surge forces schools to close and triggers mask mandates across the U.S. Bum, 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 bum. I don't know. I'm not sure I believe all this.
Well,
A deadly quademic is taking shape in the U.S. and as the months get colder and people gather indoors, threatening to overwhelm hospitals, disrupts children's education, and pose a deadly risk to vulnerable seniors. Wow.
Yeah. Well, I'll say one thing. When we see the headlines that generate fear, such as this one, we have to look closely at it. And so I looked at this one, and they use all sorts of fear-based terms like quademic. They've been using that for the past few years. Every time we enter the winter, they say we're entering a triple-demic or quademic of RSV, flu, rotavirus. And, it's just ridiculous at this point. But if you keep reading through the article, you'll see they say, it's gonna have the same outcomes as the previous years, probably the same number of deaths and hospitalizations. And H3N2 is and a certain distinct subclad of that is apparently circulating in the United States, which many people don't have immunity to. But regardless, this is going to be the same old flu. And particularly those who receive the flu shots will be facing a higher risk of developing this flu. As a study by Stressler and colleagues from the Cleveland Clinic this year found those who receive the flu shot have a 27% increased risk of the flu.
Let me go back to the dandelion thing real quick. So if people are hearing that a new study shows that dandelion root extract kills 95% of cancer cells in vitro and reduces human colon tumor growth by over 90% in mice with zero toxicity. So if someone wants to take dandelion root extract, I'm guessing you just get online and order it? Is it that easy?
Yeah, it's that easy. I believe you can order many of these dandelion root extract from Amazon, either single or compounded versions with other compounds. And it's very easily accessible and quite cheap. Now, some high quality extracts that have been standardized and tested may be more expensive, such as the version used in this or highly potent versions. But regardless, this will be widely accessible. Now, we have to remember there has been no human testing because, again, it's not profitable. But based on this evidence, and I developed cancer, I myself personally would probably be taking this.
So as an epidemiologist, if you got cancer, you would not be doing chemo or radiation? Or would you do it if you had certain types of cancer?
At this point, I would not. I would go the alternative route.
So no matter the kind of cancer you had, you would not do chemo or radiation?
No, I mean,
No,
maybe if it was such a severe form that, was in my brain stem and there was and nothing else worked and I tried everything else, then maybe. But in 99.9% of circumstances, no.
Yeah, me neither. I've always told my family, I'm not doing chemo, I'm not doing radiation, I'm not doing any of that. I would rather die than go through all that garbage. I've watched too many people go through it, puking your guts out. Other people, they do it and they claim that they were healed or whatever. Good for them. Everybody can do what they want. But I also know people went through it. It didn't do any good for them. And they seemed to end up dying from being cooked from the inside out, or they end up dying a year or two later from another kind of cancer. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, that's exactly what happens. And actually, a recent study came out. I also posted this on the Focal Points a few months ago where chemo can actually help reactivate other cancers, dormant cancer cells that have been sitting there, and then they get chemo, and then all of a sudden you'll have these new cancers kind of start to propagate. So, yeah, I would not take it if I had the choice.
Where are you? I know maybe a little off track, but where are you as a scientist, as an epidemiologist? Where are you with the invasion of the prostate snatchers? I don't know if you've ever read that book, by the way, but where are you at with that idea? Because it seems like a lot of guys are having their prostates taken out that maybe don't need it.
Yeah, well, honestly, I haven't looked into that much, so I couldn't give the best informed opinion on that. But regardless, I'd say taking out anything, for a preventative measure, if there's nothing wrong, is not going to be an optimal decision because it's there for a reason. And if there's nothing wrong with it, I don't see a reason to surgically remove it.
Mm-hmm. What do you make of this? Former CDC director calls for market removal of COVID-19 mRNA vaccines. Quote, I'd like to see it eliminated, end quote. Dr. Robert Redfield told the Epoch Times. That's a pretty big deal, isn't it?
Yeah. This is a big deal. Robert Redfield, he did go along with it. He did push these mRNA injections in 2021, 2022, 2023. But he's finally come around and he wants them, he says, eliminated. And he's right. And his reasoning were because, these induce your body to become a non-human spike protein production factory. And it goes to every single organ system. And so this is now the first CDC director coming out to call for market removal of the shots. But the thing is he joins the list that we've documented in one of our peer-reviewed papers. He joins a list of over 81,000 concerned scientists, physicians, and concerned citizens. He joins the list of over 240 U.S. elected officials and European and Australian elected officials in calling for the market removal of these shots. So now the list is so big. I think we're going to reach a point soon where they will be taken off. The evidence is simply too undeniable.
Two landmark studies. I don't know if you and I discussed this the other night or not. Two landmark studies encompassing 8.7 million people found that COVID-19 so-called vaccines increase your risk of 7 major cancers: breast, bladder, lung, prostate, thyroid, gastric, and what is that? Colorectal? Colorectal. Yeah, colorectal. Sorry. Phonics didn't work on that one too well. Have we talked about this before?
Yeah, we talked about it a few months ago, I believe, or maybe just one of these studies. But you want to go into it?
I do.
Yeah, let's go, because it is super important. So I'll summarize it very quickly. The only 2 population studies that were ever conducted looking at COVID vaccines and cancer both found multiple increases in 7 distinct types of cancers. By up to, it ranges from about 30% increased risk to about 80%. Overall cancers were up about 25 to 27%, and it's across both vaccine platforms, mRNA and viral vector, which was Johnson & Johnson and AstraZeneca. And so you have that, and remember, this was over 8.7 million people combined in both of these studies. One of them tracked them for about a year, which was in South Korea. They found 6 distinct increases in cancer. The other one was in Italy, followed 300,000 people for about 30 months, and they found 3 distinct types of increases in cancer. And so it's undeniable now. We see the population signals, but we also have the mechanistic evidence to support it, particularly our McCullough Foundation studies. We've identified the first instance of genomic integration of mRNA vaccine genetic material in a stage 4 bladder cancer patient, as well as now other case reports. They're finding spike protein, vaccine spike protein, directly within metastatic tumor cells and their nuclei of these cells. And we're also seeing gene expression chaos. We just had a paper accepted for after peer review in the World Journal of Experimental Medicine. It'll be up there shortly, where we found these mRNA injections dysregulate thousands of gene expressions related to cancer surveillance and immune function and mitochondrial function. So yeah, this is undeniable.
Wow. Okay, finally, Nuremberg 2.0. With the mRNA, all these vaccines, so-called, do you think we're ever going to see Nuremberg 2.0? Will people go to jail? Will people go to prison? Will companies and some of these organizations that manufactured this be sued into oblivion, or will it just be more the same and the beat goes on?
In the near future, it's going to be more of the same. When we start to look out 5 to 10 years, people will be behind bars. They will be in prison. We know what the charges could be based on the 500 to 600,000 estimated American deaths and the millions of injuries, hundreds of millions of injuries across the globe, and the coercion to take these, the lies and the fraud perpetuated in the trials. People will go to jail, and I think eventually there will be a form of military-style tribunal to hold these people accountable. They won't get away with this forever, and as each week passes, their penalties will be ever more severe as we continue to find increasingly worse harms from these shots, especially the one in the last 2 weeks where they found 100% of COVID-vaccinated individuals tested had circulating prion-like amyloid microclots in their blood.
One last question. I'm seeing more and more about people that are not giving their pets, let's talk dogs, not giving their dogs all of these shots every year. You know, you get the vet calling, you got to come in and get your rabies shot. You got this shot and that shot. My dog, my beloved dog, got the shots at whatever the breeder gave her. I have the file on that. But I am not running her back to the vet to get a rabies shot every year. I'm reading that the one rabies shot will do for years and years and years, maybe a lifetime, particularly for a dog that's not, on a farm and not outside and not coming in contact with wild animals. But so many of these other shots, I'm even seeing veterinarians get online and talk about, this is just a big moneymaker, just like it is with people. Your dog doesn't need all these shots. I'm also hearing more and more dogs dying on the table after they get some of these shots or dying within hours. Have you tracked that at all?
Yeah, I've tracked it. And I want to say one thing of why I've tracked it. My dog, my Boston Terrier, he lived to 10 years, but it was about, he went to the vet, he got a battery of about 5 vaccines, and within a month, he developed a debilitating tumor in his jaw. It was terrible. He couldn't eat, and he died a slow and painful death. And so, yeah, that personally pisses me off. But yeah, these pet vaccines they're absolute garbage. We have to remember they barely test these. They test them in like a field setting of maybe 100 dogs, and then not even. They see if they make antibodies, and that's about it. And, the dogs can't tell the researchers that they're experiencing side effects or they feel terrible. So we really don't know what it's doing. But what I'm most concerned about is that now they're rolling out the self-amplifying mRNA injections for the dogs and cats. They already have rolled it out last year. It's for flu, rabies, and feline leukemia virus. And so these are actively being injected into dogs. The vets, they won't even tell you that these are self-amplifying. It's called Novavax NXT, developed by Merck. So if you go to the vet, make sure they're not getting Novavax NXT. They will become self-amplifying RNA particle factories, and this can probably shed onto the human owners, and it can recombine with wild viruses and cause chimeric mutant viruses that we do not know what those can do. So be careful. It's a very serious situation.
Indeed it is. Nick Hulscher, as always, thefocalpoints.com, and on X, as you see right here, at Nick Hulscher, if you don't follow him on X. And all his great work, research, interviews, and short format clips. Nick, as always, thank you, my friend.
Thanks for having me.